Hellraiser is a series you might have heard of due to the iconic Pinhead. However, you probably don't know much about it beyond that. Don't worry, I've taken on the task to watch all 11 Hellraiser movies, so you don't have to. Please don't. Hellraiser revolves around the Lament configuration, a puzzle box that, when solved, summons the Cenobites, demons from hell who drag you away with chains and hooks and other sharp objects. It's a cool premise, right? Unfortunately, the series is plagued by numerous painful sequels that turn the viewing experience into a form of torture like the ones in the film. To save you from this torture, I've put all Hellraiser films into a tier list, ranking them from the original to the reboot, from the highs of pleasure to the lows of pain. So without further ado, let's open the Lament configuration and brace ourselves for the torment to come. Hellraiser is the first in the franchise, the staple child, the great of the great. Hellraiser, I think, is a really great movie. It came out in 1987 with a budget of $1 million and a revenue of $14,575,193, which is brilliant. Hellraiser is a pioneer of 80s horror movie practical effects, up there with the likes of John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982. Hellraiser follows Frank Cotton, who buys the Lament configuration. He opens the box to summon the Cenobites, demons who pursue pain and pleasure. Julia Cotton finds the remains of Frank after he was reanimated with a few drops of blood and has to bring him sacrifices to give him flesh, more flesh, and eventually skin. But when Kirsty Cotton finds out about it, she has to summon back the Cenobites to give him back. Hellraiser obviously shows the brand new, at the time, Pinhead, Chatterer, female Cenobite, and Butterball. Like I said, Hellraiser is super fun. Fun enough to spawn 9 sequels, a reboot, and a place in Dead by Daylight. Hellraiser is a brilliant movie if you want 80s practical effects, for the iconic Frank rebirth scene, which is genuinely breathtaking in my opinion. Though something I find funny, Pinhead wasn't called Pinhead. He was just called Lead Cenobite. Though Chatterer and Butterball had names, and female Cenobite never had a name. To my knowledge. Alright, I have to name these monsters. Let's see here. Lead Cenobite, female Cenobite, Chatterer, Butterball! I'm one of those guys that thinks Hellbound is better than Hellraiser for a couple simple, but one stupid reason. This image. I felt the aura from this image last December. Anyway, that's not the only reason. Hellbound is a really good sequel to Hellraiser, with the movie starting off with a question I had when coming out of Hellraiser. How do they get there in the first place? It shows how Pinhead became Pinhead, with the origin of Lead Cenobite. Then it picked up right after the original, with Kirsty being in the not greatest place on Earth, while Julia gets resurrected, just like Frank did by Dr. Channard. Then Julia's in Frank's position, and is evil. Fast forward to the end, Julia backstabs Dr. Channard, in making him a Cenobite. Another thing I like about the sequel is that it gives us more of what we want. The backstory and more of the Cenobites. Like when the Doctor Cenobite kills the other Cenobites, it shows what they were before, in which I thought I'd like to highlight that Chatterer was a child. Hellbound had a budget of $3 million and a box office of $12,090,735. A budget of $2 million more than last time. And also, you get more Pinhead backstory by the end of the movie, way before he becomes a Cenobite. But you get more with that with Hellraiser 3. Hellraiser 3 is definitely one of the 2 controversial takes I have on this list. I just didn't have that much fun with it. They decided to make Pinhead a full-on slasher, with really weird Cenobite friends like CD Cenobite, Camera Cenobite, and probably the most useless of all, the Dreamer Cenobite, which just burned you with the lid end of a cigarette. Oh no, I got a really small burn! Whatever will I do? Pinhead becomes a real goofy guy, a real silly Cenobite in this movie. One might say he's a devious demon. Some might say he's... okay, I'll stop. Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, has a $5 million budget, in which you can see it was well used, and a revenue of $12 million. Kirsty was backseated for the sequel, which is something I don't like. Give Kirsty her trilogy! Give Kirsty her trilogy! Hellraiser 4 Bloodline is the final Hellraiser movie that was released in theaters, and a very average Hellraiser movie. Really middle of the line if you ask me. Hellraiser 4 is a period piece slash modern day slash Hellraiser in space being sliced into thirds. In my opinion, I like the Hellraiser in space third of the movie. For some reason, when you think of horror movie franchises in space, Hellraiser always felt right, even though hell has nothing to do with space. The period piece part shows the lament configuration being created by a French toy maker. After this, the toy maker's bloodline was cursed by the Cenobites for opening a portal to hell. In this one, Pinhead dies in the end. He explodes! He kaboom! Hellraiser 4 had a $4 million budget with a revenue of $16 million. This movie has actually shown one of my favorite Cenobites in the franchise, the Twisty Head guy. That's his name for me, but his real name is the Siamese Twins. The way that this is made is super gnarly too, I love it. The other brand new Cenobites include Angelique and the Chatterer Beast, who also blows up. But I think his design rules too. It looks so sick. Chatterer has so many different forms in the movie, it's crazy. Also, Adam Scott's in this? Like, Adam Scott? Adam Scott? Adam Scott of Madam Web fame? Hellraiser 5 Inferno is the first direct-to-video Hellraiser movie, which means it never got into the theaters, and the first one to have a theorized, reused script, which means the script itself wasn't made to be a Hellraiser script in the first place, but was made into one. Hellraiser 5 was directed by Scott Derrickson. Now, I haven't added who directed these movies yet, because Scott Derrickson also directed The Black Phone starring Ethan Hawke and Doctor fucking Strange. Doctor Strange, save me from Pinhead! Help me, Strange, help me! Hellraiser 5 is one, going into it, I thought I would never like, in the slightest, due to the internet reviews. But oh boy, how wrong I was. I really liked Hellraiser 5, even though that there wasn't many Cenobites in them. The times that they were in there are very interesting, like that legless Chatterer who looks like a Gorilla Tag character. And the Engineer, which is a Cenobite? Kinda? There's this really funny scene where the main character's in a bar and he gets this tape. So when there's many people in said bar, he puts the tape into the VHS player where this dude is getting chopped up and it's pretty gory. And it's taken out. No one bats an eye at the VHS tape. Like, how many times does that happen for the bar to be like, nah, don't mind that? But whatever. Doesn't change the way Hellraiser 5 is a movie that I know has its flaws, but I still love. While Hellraiser 7 is more boring, Hellraiser 6 is the most offensive to the source material to me. Hellraiser 6 is the second film in the Detective Trilogy, minus Hellraiser 10. Apparently this film had a $3 million budget? That's crazy! I couldn't find anything from the revenue though, probably good enough to make a 7th. The film follows Trevor Gooden after his wife, Kirsty Cotton, you remember that name, is killed in a car accident, falling off a bridge. Trevor's followed by Pinhead and his cash after opening the lament configuration, yada yada yada, normal, right? The reason why this is so low down for me is because the bringing back of Kirsty Cotton and immediately death of her. Though, yes, she doesn't actually die, it seems like it, and they use her as a plot device instead of an actual character, which annoys me, a lot. Yeah, I love the Kirsty Hellraiser movies. Hellraiser 1, 2, and that's it. Now, while watching Hellraiser 7, I don't normally do this while watching movies, but I actually decided to take down some notes in a book. Alright, so here are the notes. I'm bored. I'm super bored. I'm extremely bored. I'm the most bored I've ever been. I'm bored. I'm bored. Hellraiser Deader is a boring movie, with yes, an all-new detective plot with some sort of cult called Deaders, who would die but come back to life. Reporter Amy Clean was assigned to the case, but sent down a deep rabbit hole while seeing hallucinations. Pinhead and the Cenobites are the least used in this movie, and the one before, Hellraiser 6. Speaking about Hellraiser sequels, apparently this movie was good enough to get an 8th, but the movie's budget, take a wild guess. $4 million. Where the fuck did that go? Fun fact, actually, Hellraiser 7 was filmed at the same time as Hellraiser 8, Hellworld, but to save costs. Maybe this is why the film isn't good? But Hellraiser 8's fun? I don't know. But there is this scene in the movie where Amy goes onto this train, and there's, like, so many naked women. It scared me more than any of movies in the series. But I'm gonna be honest, while writing the script, I struggled to remember anything from this movie.
I can't think of anything.
Hellraiser 8, Hellworld is a stupid, hilarious, wild ride about a Hellraiser in-world game called, well, Hellworld. When a group of friends are invited to a party based off the game, they get killed off one by one. Also, Henry Cavill's here in a very early part of his career. Doctor Strange and Superman, save me from Pinhead! Save me, Doctor Strange and Superman! Hellraiser 8 screams the early 2000s horror movie feel. Weird-ass filters, rock music playing in the back, freaky. Kills are really weird in this movie, like Hellraiser 3, but there's a plot twist at the end that makes them make sense. But then at the end of the movie, it doesn't make them make sense. Watch the movie and find out. Hellraiser 8 had a budget of $5 million, in which you can kinda see, with the set design and everything. Hellraiser 8 was also the last movie Doug Bradley played Pinhead in, which is sad, but great to see the other Pinhead actors in Judgement and the reboot. You'll see how I feel about the other one next. I think Hellraiser 8 was a stupid yet funny send-off to Doug Bradley. Was it the one he deserved? Hell no. But it was the one we got nonetheless. Hellraiser 9 is commonly the bottom of the barrel, the worst of the worst on people's lists. Go on to Letterboxd, you'd see the bottom 9 times out of 10. But for me, there's been worse. Well-known production fact, the movie was made in a matter of weeks, which is what gives it a low-budget, weird feel. The movie had a $350,000 budget, but I'll be honest, for it being made in weeks, it's not as bad as it should be. Yes, Hellraiser 9 is a bad movie, but it followed in the original's footprints more than any of the bad sequels did. But, nonetheless, the elephant in the room. Oh, Doug Bradley's not coming back for the next Hellraiser? That's a shame. I wonder who's gonna replace him. What is that? That's not Pinhead, bro. That's Needleface. That's not Pinhead. That's Sharp Thingy Forehead. They goofed horrifically while recasting Pinhead. Doug Bradley will always be the best Pinhead for the foreseeable future, but I want to see what they can do. Because after Hellraiser 9, they went 2 for 2 with good Pinheads in my opinion. Hellraiser 10, Judgement, is a so-called final of the main Hellraiser plotline. And honestly, it isn't half bad. I enjoyed the Hellraiser 10 for what it is. It follows the detective plot and shows the other opposite of hell, heaven. We saw demons in everything, but we never saw angels, and also a deep dive into the world is thoroughly interesting to me. They also flipped the lid on Hellraiser, showing what would happen while being hellraised, killed, judged, whatever. They have many new Cenobites, like the Assessor, the Auditor, the Butcher, and the Surgeon. The Auditor is also one of my favorite Cenobites. The auditing scene he has with the detective is so intense, and it's honestly one of my favorite scenes in the whole franchise. Hellraiser 10 had a budget of $350,000, the same as Hellraiser Revelations, with a revenue of $426,290. It's the only film to date to genuinely make me feel sick. That opening is too much. With it being the 10th in the franchise, Doug Bradley obviously isn't Pinhead, but they got someone I genuinely think is a decent-looking Pinhead. Though the ending doesn't really make much sense as in Hellraiser 4 kills Pinhead, but I might have an idea. At the end of Hellraiser 10, Pinhead cooks and kills an angel of heaven, which is clearly a no-no, so Pinhead is sent back to Earth as a human, which is apparently the worst thing that can happen to a Cenobite. But they never said that if you have your time on Earth as a normal human, you go back to being a Cenobite after. So, Pinhead would serve his time as a human on Earth, then return as a Cenobite to die in space. If I goofed here and got something wrong and missed something, please do tell me in the comments. Hellraiser 2022 is what I personally think is a near-perfect Hellraiser movie, while adding a twist to the Hellraiser formula. I also think Hellraiser 2022 has one of the most beautiful crescendos in a horror movie theme. Please, take a listen. Doesn't that make you want to be some sort of angelic being fighting the Great War of the Galaxy? Anyway, Hellraiser 2022 was released on Hulu in, you guessed it, 2022. From my knowledge, the only theater showing it had was at Fantastic. Hellraiser 2022 had a budget of $14 million, and it showed. The Cenobites have a huge overhaul, being more grotesque. The Cenobites that we have are the Weeper, the Sphinx, I think, the Mother, the Gasp, the Mask, the Chatterer, and finally Pinhead, the Hell Priest. My favorite here has gotta be the Weeper. I love you, Chatterer, but the Weeper looks so damn cool. The creepiest, in my opinion, is the Mask. A few more things I thought was cool were the way that they had the lament configuration, having it in different states to show the amount of sacrifices the person had done for the thing they search for. If it's lament for life, lore for knowledge, laudorant for love, liminal for sensation, Lazarus for resurrection, or Leviathan for power. One more, the way that they actually show you a Cenobite transformation. Not like right before, the right after, in the way like Hellbound, Hellraiser II did, but the during. And that was genuinely horrifying to me. That's my Hellraiser tier list. From pleasure to pain, from good to bad. If you don't agree, that's alright. Just don't be an asshole about it. Alright? Cool. See you later.